leaders in the modern history of the United States of America. He was a great leader because he was a man not only of great intelligence and great courage. He was a guy who was beaten time and time again, thrown in jail time and time again, but he kept his eyes on the prize. And that's a lesson. Victory does not come easily. Struggle does not come easily. And what we need to do is to keep our eyes on the prize as he did. Always fighting for what he called the beloved community, his vision for a world of justice, of peace, and equality for all humanity. That was his vision. Dr. King was a great leader because he understood a profound truth. It was true in his lifetime, true before him, and true today. That real change always takes place from the bottom on up, never from the top down. And that's why he and his associates were extraordinary organizers, organizing millions of people throughout this country to stand up to racism, to stand up to segregation, and to create a more just society. And he was a great leader because he believed in democracy and he believed in the importance of people being involved in the political process. And he spent an enormous amount of time and energy to tenaciously fight for the Voting Rights Act so that people in this country, all people, had the right to vote regardless of the color of their skin. And that's a lesson, and Killamite just made that point, that I want all of you and all Americans to appreciate. It's not only Dr. King, it's people in World War II and countries fighting in countries throughout the world to defend American democracy. And when you turn your back on democracy, when you say, I'm just too busy to vote, or I don't really care, or I don't believe in the political process, you're turning your back not only on Dr. King, but God knows how many men and women who fought and died to protect democracy in this country. And Dr. King was a great leader because he continued to grow and expand his vision. Now, you don't necessarily know this if you watch the TV, but the truth is, he did much more than just fight segregation and racism. What he did against enormous opposition from the establishment, opposition from people who contributed money to his organization, he said, you know, I, Dr. King, have been a proponent of nonviolence my entire life. And I see America engaged in a war in Vietnam that they should not be engaged in, and I must speak out against that war. He didn't have to do that, but he did. Furthermore, he was a great leader because he understood that justice in America was even more than civil rights. It was economic rights as well. And what he said what he said was that, of course, we have to end segregation at lunch counters and hotels and at universities and schools. But then he also said, what difference does it make if a family can't afford to send their kid to those schools or eat in that restaurant? And I hope all of you will remember where he was and what he was doing when he was assassinated in 1968. He was standing shoulder to shoulder with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, union workers who were being exploited, workers who were earning wages much too low, workers who were having work conditions absolutely horrendous. And he said, I will stand with you. Because he understood that to be free in America meant that you have to have economic rights. You have to earn a living wage. And I hope you'll all remember that in the last months of his life, he was prepared to take on the entire establishment and take a hard look at the national priorities of America. And he was organizing, not a lot of people know this or remember this, but he was organizing what he called a Poor People's March. It was a march of African Americans, of whites, of Latinos, of Native Americans. And it was the coming together of all exploited people to demand that the United States government started passing policies which represented all of the people, not just the people on top. And in fact, in the last months of his life, he talked about a nation which had socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. Atlanta is the city in which Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King, have their final resting place. And I hope that all of you in Atlanta will do everything that you can to keep the extraordinary vision of Dr. King alive. And what I want to do, and what we've been doing throughout this campaign, and the reason why I think our campaign has had as much success as it has had, is that we are simply treating the American people with intelligence. And what that means is that in a democratic society, politics is more than a 30-second ad. Politics is the need to lay out on the table the problems facing our country and in a respectful, intelligent way, figure out how we go from here to there.